Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn a slightly uncommon but very powerful feature of Python called as loop else statement. Most beginner thinks else is only used with if condition, but in Python else also works with the loops as well. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand when loop else execute, when it does not, and how it used in the real life programs of a Python code. Let's right now see what is loop else exactly in Python. The simple meaning of loop else is this: if a loop complete normally without any break or any pause, then the else block executes properly and runs the code. But if a break occur inside a loop while execution, the else block is completely get skipped and no code is run from the else block over there. If you remember this simple single rule, loop else will never confuse you. Let's right now talk about the for else syntax and the example. I have shown a small code of snippet for the same over the screen. Just look out over the screen right now. I will explain the thing over here. I am right now explaining the overview over here right now, but later I will explain the same code in the execution point of view as well by performing practically. So here I have write a condition or loop for I in range 1 comma 4, and I'm using a print function to print the value of I. And in the range in the same line of for loop, I use the else block over here and use the print statement to print the one print statement over here. So basically, let me just explain you right now how it is happening and how the code is exactly working. The for loop runs over range 1 to 4, which means the values like 1, 2, and 3 will get print. In each iteration, the value of I is printed sequentially one by one. Now the important point is here, once the loop finishes all the iteration and no break is encountered anywhere, the else block written after the loop executes and prints the loops completed. So in this example, we have just seen how the else block executes and works with a loop condition. And this how we can see it, the overview over here right now. Let's right now see by a practical example and try to understand more in detail depth about for and else statement along by doing it practically. So I have already opened a PyCharm window over here and create a file name which is named as in looping.py, and already put a comment over this file specifically as I'm going to perform the for else statement over here. So I'm going to use the same code which I have earlier already shown in the slides as well. For the same code, I will explain the thing, how it exactly works in the code and how we are using the else block in the for loop. So let me just write a small code of snippet over here for I in range 1 comma 4, and I also want to print the value of I, and in the intent line of for for loop I'm using the else block and using the print statement as well there. Done with execution, that line I want to print in the else block. So just a sec, I just make a typo. I just correct it. Okay. So see, as we already know, if we are using the for loop, we are sequentially iterating over the range over here from 1 to 4, and it will print the value of that specific I, like a range specific number over here, value. And I also use the else block along with the print statement. You are thinking that how this else block will get executed. You are already about the for loop execution, but not aware about the else block over here. But see, let me just explain you the scenario over here right now. Uh, think about the scene if you are using a loop specifically, and in that loop, at certain interval of time, after completing our execution, we want to print something at last after the execution of a loop. Then either we can do it by manually using a print function over there in the last statement, but there is a way that we can also do along with the loop by using the else statement over here. So specifically, if I define the else keyword defined like this along with the loop and print the specific line that I want to print after the at the end of the execution of a loop, then I can use the else block over here. So like this, you can see if I run the code right now, it print 1, 2, 3 and done with Python. See, it execute the same that I have said just right now. But in the sense, if any interruption come across while running the for loop, like any break or any interruption happens, or a code get not executed properly in the loop, like specifically here I'm talking about, if any condition issue or interruption happen, then we cannot accept that else block will get executed till the time if the condition is like satisfied and work fine in the loop iteration, then and then only we can accept that we are able to get evaluated output from the else block. So this how the difference that makes use of else block along with the for loop conditions. So this how we can use it exactly. Let's just right now talk about while else syntax and the example. And for the same, I have shown a small code of snippet over the screen. Just bear with me. I will just explain the overview over here right now. And then afterwards, I will explain a practical approach for the same in detail. So here I write a code like count equal to 0 while count is less than 3. Inside that while block, I use a print statement to print the count. And after that, printing the count, I am incrementing the count value by 1. And in the line of while loop block, I use the else block to print some print statement. So basically, let me just tell you right now the execution flow over here. We started the count from the 0. The loops run as long as count value is less than 3. In each iteration, count is printed and then increased by 1. When count becomes 3, the condition becomes false over here and the loops terminate naturally. Since the loop ain't naturally over here, the else block will get executed and print the respective line. So this how we can use the else block along the while loop as well, like we do use in the for loop too. Let's right now also talk about while else statement. Uh, in the similar manner that we do for the for loop with the else statement, in the similar manner that we are going to do perform for the while loop as well. Just the change in between the keywords, will the execution will remain the same. Just the overview I will explain over here right now by writing a small code of snippet just right now over here. And then after I will explain the thing, how the execution is going on over here right now. So I'm using the same code that we have already seen in the slide overview over there. I'm reusing the same code over here right now. So let me just write it. Count is equals to 0. Then I want to iterate that count by using the loop. Count less than 3. Then I want to print that count value inside that loop. I'm printing that. And after that, I want to increment the count value by 1 over here. And inside that, after executing the while block, I want else block to get print at the end. Let's just bear with me. I will explain the code, what I have like done, and how the else block will get executed along the while block with execution. So see, like we already know, if we are going to use a loop over here, then the iteration will be in the sequential manner, one by one. It will iterate one by one, checking the conditions and incremented the loop over here. So just a condition over here, when we are using the else block along with the while block over here, if the loop, the while loop specifically over here, which I'm using it right now, will get executed properly without any interruption, then and that time only we will accept the output will get evaluated or get printed from the else block. But if in case some interruption is happening or inside the while block, like we do check in the for loop as well, if any interruption happen there as well, then that else block is not also executed over there. Similarly, in the while block as well, if any interruption come across over here, like code breaks or some interruption happens, some issues come across, then at that time, the else block will not get executed over that scenario. But if the issue is not there, the code is working fine, iteration is going smoothly, then at that time, at last, we get the result from the else block as well. Like here, there is no issue in the code. So see, we are getting the evaluated proper over here, and the result also is proper. So see, the result is printed correctly over here. Okay, so this is how we can use the else block along the while loop as well, like we do use in the same way for the for loop too. Let's right now understand how we can use a break keyword along with the loop else statement. So for the same, I have write a small code of snippet over here. Just I have like briefly explain over here the things. In the later view, I will explain in them in a practical way how it exactly works in the step-by-step manner. For the same, I have write a code like for I in range in 1 to 6, if I is equal to 3, then I'm using the break statement to break the loop over here, and I'm using the print statement to print the value of I. And in the line of like for loop, I also use the else block to print something over the terminal. So basically, just understand the thing over here right now as an overview. If any break condition will get used inside a loop and it get terminated inadequately, inconsistently, then at that time just make a mark of it. The else block which we write along with the for loop will not execute it over there, and the termination will happen till the loop only. So this how like the overview I have like explained over here how it executes. For the basic understanding and the detailed understanding of the thing, we will see in the later practical view as well. Let's right now understand how we can use the break keyword along the loop else statement as well. Like we have already seen how we can use the else along the for loop and the while loop as well. Now let's see how we can use the break keyword along the loop else statement and see it impact. Will it execute the code properly or will it not? So let me just write a small code of snippet over here or okay, I've been just writing a code over here for I in the range 1 comma 4, and inside that I want to print the I. After that, okay, before printing it, I want to put one condition over here. Like if I want to compare I equals to 3, then at that time I want to break the code. And after that, outside of the if block, I want to print the value of I over here. And along the for loop indentation, I have also used the else block as well over here and use the print statement over here. Okay, and I want to print like done with execution here. Now just bear with me. I will explain the thing how the things are happening behind the scene. So basically see, as we already know, we can use the for loop to iterate over the object one by one in the sequential format over here. But as the new thing over this code, I use it a break keyword specifically. So let me just explain you. Right now, I also use the else block and the break keyword along the same in this code. So basically, we already seen in the last two things, like in the while loops and the for loop, if the code executed smoothly while running the code in the loop, at that time if it is working smoothly, means no error or no interruption is happening, then at that time we see that else block is executed correctly. But right now see, the interruption is happening in between over here by using this if condition. If this break keyword get executed at that time, the else block of any loop, not just a for loop over here, I'm just take an example over specifically. If I use a else keyword over here, then at that time, if interruption is happening in a loop, then at that time, the else block will not execute. This is the behavior of a Python. It will ignore the code if any interruption is happening while running the execution flow of a loop specifically. See, I will prove it. If I run the code right now here, just a sec, Python looping.py. See, it just only print 1 and 2, exclude the printing of this line. As earlier, we are already getting this line because there is no interruption in the code while running the loop. But at this time, the interruption is there. That's why it will ignore this line specifically. So this is how we can use a break keyword along the loop else statement in a Python code. And this how it works exactly. So friends, today we learn about the loop and else statements. Loop and else executes only when a loop completes normally. If break is used in between while execution a loop, the else block does not execute over there. Once you understand this concept clearly, you can now use the Python loops more intelligently in your Python codes. In the next video, we will build a simple calculator and a number pattern programs to get it more detailed understanding about the concept that we have seen till right now. If you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more Python tutorial. See you in the next video.